Hi, this is Professor Nugent. This is Chapter 1, Kellogg's on Strategy. Um, okay, so the first thing a company needs to do, of course, is describe what is their strategy. What are they doing as truly unique in some way, or a process which they've achieved that's unmatched by anybody else? Something that they do that puts them on top, because that's a good strategy. Now, you can't have a strategy unless you're able to define this uniqueness about your product, your process, your company, your service. How are you better than the competition? How can you prevent people from entering the market and taking your customers? How can you prevent people from imitating your product? These are, questions managers need to know, need to be versed in, to think about. Okay. Okay. So there are two principal questions that a manager needs to answer. First one, does the firm possess advantages that they can leverage into profits? What does the firm really have that's going to enable them to survive? Competition is so fierce that for a company to really make it successfully in business these days, they really need to have something special. And if the managers of the company don't understand what that is, the company is never going to be able to fully utilize it. Now, a company could have something really special, but does the business environment allow them to translate that into something profitable? Is the consumer ready for it? Is it something that they can get into the hands of people who are willing to buy it? I mean, many companies have, you know, possess some terrific technologies, some terrific products, but if they can't figure out a way to sell it, to make a profit from it, there are plenty of wonderful products out there, but they can't sell it at a price point that makes money. Bad strategy. It has to be repositioned, rethought, recreated in a way that customers will flock to it, will buy it, will make money for the company. All right. Now, what is the process to answering these questions? The principal questions. Well, here's a guideline. First thing you got to do is organize the information you're going to need to do a efficient and thorough strategic analysis. And a lot of that data, the institutional knowledge, the organizational information comes from many sources. One very important aspect, of course, is finance and looking at, the performance of the company, specifically the economic performance. And one way we look at economic profit is sort of when you see NOPAT, that's operational profits after tax minus the cost of capital. So if you've taken MBA 502, you know that the weighted average cost of capital times the total dollar amount of capital will give you a figure that you're paying for the money that you've assembled in your capital, whether it's stocks, bonds, long-term debt. All this money comes at a cost. So are your operational profits larger than the cost of obtaining this capital? That is a big question. And for a lot of companies, uh, it's the answer is no. And it's why be in business if you really can't, make more money than the cost of the money you've already assembled. All right. So here is an idea from the book. If you want superior economic profit, why are companies in business? They're in business to maximize shareholders' wealth or maximize owners' wealth. That's right. Businesses are there to make money. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about that or really focus on that, but the management of companies, that's what they're focusing on. That's what their goal is. So how can we do that? Well, One is higher gross margins, and you'll see this when you're playing the Zoom simulation. A lot of people forget to focus on the margins. They make wonderful cars, but they're selling them at low margins. That's not going to give you economic profits. So, in order to have a higher gross margin, there's only two ways. You either reduce your costs or increase your price, or a combination of both. In the Zoom simulation, you can easily reduce your costs by reducing the features and elements of your car, and you can also increase price. But it comes at a cost, and that could be the demand for your product. So the key is, how can I create a high profit situation for my product where it's not does not cost that much to make it, and I can sell it at a premium. That's a successful company. Not always easy to do, because this pesky, consistent problem of competition pokes its head in to take advantage of any situations where there's money to be made. Okay, lower SG&A to sales ratio. Back to financial accounting. What is SG&A? Selling, administrative, and general administration. This is basically where most MBA students work. Human resources, finance, accounting, sales. These are the jobs where you're not producing anything, you're not making a product, you're not direct labor to assemble a product, you're supporting the product. Now, if you can create efficiencies in these positions, meaning that using technology, using experienced people, buying the right programs or machinery to get the job done faster and smarter. A big force in the market today is this Salesforce.com program that companies use to organize and manage their sales force. It helps to reduce costs, increase effectiveness, and that efficiency, the more you can do with the SG&A people, the more effective they are compared to the sales. And sometimes when you talk about these efficiencies, they can be found in many areas. And the cost of these people, all these salaries and benefits, if they can generate or increase the sales by maintaining the same money spent on these people, that makes a company ever more profitable the bigger it grows. And that's why when recession hits and sales go down, these people are typically laid off, because companies don't want to deteriorate their gross margins by these employees. And they're typically the most expensive employees, get paid the most compared to the direct labor employees. So they better produce. Okay, now a lower capital to sales ratio. You want to have the most efficient management of the capital and fixed assets. A lot of industries, to lower their capital, they would sell, say the airline industry had a lot of capital in all these planes they owned. They figured out one day, listen, I could just lease these planes from Boeing or from another source, lease them, I don't own them. It'd be less capital to invest because I don't have to buy them out front. More effective use of my capital. Developing a capital structure that costs less, just being smart about where we're borrowing money, the sources we're using. Individuals do this all the time when they're refinancing their home. They're moving money around between high interest rate credit cards and low interest rate credit cards. It's just saving money by more effectively utilizing your capital. Thirdly, higher market share. You want superior profits? Get a superior piece of the market. It's the efficiencies of scale. The more you can sell, the bigger you become. The more the fixed costs and the SG&A costs are spread out between more products. The smaller effect they have, lower their cost on the product, the more profitable the product becomes. So having this increase in market share is critical to getting a superior profit. But the problem is, again, this competition that just comes in and will take your market share. It's so competitive out there that one slip up and you can really devastate your market share. your profits. Look at Netflix. Bad timing on a price increase. Not, you know, giving a significant price increase during a recession, changing the benefit level dynamic of their product costs them dearly. You know, you have a stock that goes from $300 in the summer to $70 in the fall. Somebody messed up. Okay. Okay, so continuing to step two, define the firm's position. Where are they in the industry? You know, are they a small player, a new entry? Are they established? Are they a leader? Are they, you know, where are they exactly in the industry? Up and coming, or identify the firm's customers. Who are your customers? You need to know them. The better you know them, the better you understand them, the better you are able to service them. Um, how does the firm create value for its customers, create benefits for its customers? The whole idea of buying services or products is that you're going to derive some sort of benefit from this product. You know, whether it's enjoyment, whether it's um, getting to work as transportation, whether it's um, heating your home, clothes you wear, there's some value. So when you perceive, when your customers, you know your customers and you know what they want and you're able to deliver to them. A lot like, for example, Under Armour. Their customers were people who played sports, professional sports. They needed clothes that could keep them warm, could keep them dry. They needed a more sophisticated set of clothes to work out in. Under Armour understood this. They produced the clothes that their customers were willing to pay 2 or 3 times the amount of money for traditional clothes, and they prospered, and they had superior economic profits. Okay, step three, industry analysis. Now, when you look at the industry, what stage is the firm in? You know, we have these stages that companies, when they start out, can be sort of a growth industry. Then it can go into a more mature industry. Then it could go into an aging industry. You know, so we want to know what is this industry we're in? How heavily regulated are they? What is, you know, the main disadvantages of this industry? Advantages? Who are your competitors? I mean, it's just before you can really answer these principal questions, you really need to understand the overall industry. Now, there are these 5 forces that should be understood for anyone's industry. Now, one of them that every company needs to think about is, what is the competition within the industry? So how strong is that? How much of a factor on prices is it? Um, are consumers ending up enjoying all the value created by the industry? So that's something that needs to be understood. If you have an industry where the competition is so fierce that people are basically selling the products at a very low margin, that's a tough industry to get into. It's a tough industry to survive. Also, what we need to know is the entry. If an industry is very profitable, new companies are going to race to set up shop. And as soon as they do, it's going to erode profits of the people who have been there in the market. It's going to steal their market share and intensify price competition. So now, if you're in an industry where it's really difficult to enter, like the automobile industry, it's very hard to design a car, pass all the regulations of the car, set up your manufacturing plants. It's not something that can easily be done. It takes lots of money. And there are other industries where there was a big craze on selling these rubber bands that look like animals. I don't even know the name of it, but it was a huge craze like a year ago. And the company that was selling them in the beginning made a lot of money, but since it was so easy to duplicate these rubber bands, everybody else got into the game and profits diminished. Also, substitutes. What are other products that people could switch to that will steal market share from you? They're not the same exact product. It's not a car, someone buying one car over another, a Kia over a Nissan over a Honda. It's a different mode of transportation. Someone buying a motorcycle, a bicycle, mass transit. What products can customers switch to if your product becomes, for example, Cablevision TV, expensive cable. A lot of people are paying $130 to $160 a month for Cablevision. Some people feel, what? As a substitute, I'll just drop my cable TV service and I'll use the internet with Netflix or Hulu and watch my TV off the internet. So instead of having cable brought into your house, you watch it through the internet, which is a very similar product, but it's a substitute. If you get your TV directly through the cable lines and the established cable networks, or you watch it through um, the internet. A better example maybe of substitute is you need to write something down. Well, you could choose a pen or a pencil, piece of chalk, crayon. I mean, these are substitute products. They're not exactly the same product, but they can fill that function of writing something down. Another degree is supplier power. Now, the people that supply you your raw materials, your goods, how powerful are they? Is there one supplier for the substance or product or component that you can't really negotiate with? They're the only source. That can put you at a disadvantage. Okay, buyer power. The buyer power is how powerful are the buyers to demand discounts in their suppliers? And, for example, if you look at Walmart, they are extremely powerful in asking their suppliers to take price cuts to lower their costs. Now, that's great for Walmart. It's bad for the companies that supply Walmart. It could be hard in the competition when you're trying to compete with Walmart. You're not getting the same discounts that Walmart is. Your prices will never be as low as Walmart. So these are different forces we need to be aware of in any time we develop a strategic plan. Okay, step 4, we need to evaluate sustainability. Uh, we want to know, can we outperform our rivals in the short run? It's quite another to secure an advantage that lasts for many years. Entry uh, is one of the major threats to sustaining an advantage. Now, here are some things that can help us create a sustainability and maintain our position. One thing is learning curves. If your product has a very steep learning curve, that's going to help people to stick with your product. For example, people who are familiar with PCs and the functionality of PCs may not want to switch to the Apple due to the learning curve, having to learn the whole new system and operations. Things that you work with and you have a great deal of familiarity with and you understand very well, you will be reluctant to switch to another product that's the same type of product, but you have to relearn everything again from the bottom up. That's a powerful way to keep your customers. Also, switching costs. If switching for example, the phone industry used to rely on switching costs. When people would, it would be the cost of having to change your number before they made a law where you could take your number with you. Just imagine how much work it would be to have to tell everybody you're changing your number and update that everywhere. Also, to break a contract and move to another carrier was very expensive. So switching costs is one thing that phone companies try to install, but laws did chip away at that. Even computers, we talked about the computer example before. Besides the learning curve, if you're going to switch to a different computer and from PC to Apple and Apple's twice the cost, that's going to be a consideration as well. Reputation effect. Here we're looking at what is the reputation of your product and the relationships. So if you have a great reputation for a product, if you're just known to produce a very high level, high quality, highly reliable, highly safe product, it's going to affect the way people feel about your product, and they're not going to want to switch to some unknown product, especially when it comes to medicines, vitamins, foods, things you think of high quality. uh, networking effect or the network effect. Consumers lock into a product or a design or a technology. Uh, for example, there was for a while this competition between HD DVDs and Blu-ray, and people were buying both sets of players. Now, when the Blu-ray started to take off, and that shown a much more bigger network, more movies were coming out, more people were having the Blu-ray machines and discs. That was producing a network effect that made people want to be part of that. If you look at Facebook, you know, one reason Google's having a trouble developing their social networking because everybody's on Facebook. There's a huge network effect where the benefits from these sites come from the fact that your friends, your relatives, everybody's there already. And you go over to Google and you set up, um, I forgot what the Google product's called, but you go into Google and you set it up. There's no one there. There might be two people. So what's the point? So these networking effects, they make a product, the more people that use it, the more beneficial it comes. Also, LinkedIn, very useful site because everyone's there. It has a huge network advantage. If you were trying to make a competitive site to LinkedIn, maybe a better site, it's not hard to make a better site than LinkedIn. LinkedIn is pretty bare bones, but it would take a long time to get the people there to make it valuable. So that's going to sustain LinkedIn sustainability much longer than it should because they have so many people. They were there first. Okay. Now, here at the end of the chapter, we call the strategy top 10. So we're going to look at, um, you know, these top 10 ideas or things in strategy that is going to be reflected throughout the course here. Number one, the firm exists to turn shareholders' capital into profits, creating shareholders' wealth for the long term. This can't be stressed enough. This is a top concept. The strategy top 10 are really the top course concepts that you should understand at the end of this course. And we're going to, reinforce throughout the whole course. But it's just, I hate to seem like businesses are greedy or all about money, but basically they are. People give them money and buy their stock, lend them money in bonds, and they expect that money to create some value, create wealth in the long term, especially. So managers need to have a long-term strategic view. The firm must have unique and defensible value creation um, proposition. So they have to have something that, some way of creating value. For example, if a TV network creates a hit TV show, um, only to lose all the profits to the show's stars and writers. Um, the network has to think, what is the value of the show if I'm not making any money from it? Some value can be the fact that it brings viewers to the network and they can advertise their other shows during the show. So sometimes you look at TV has a history of putting on very expensive TV shows up for the hope of making them popular. Even though they're taking a loss, they're trying to make their network more viewers overall in the network so that other shows that aren't as expensive will gain viewership and profits will be made there. Uh, but you see, if the network is, they can't really defend their position if writers and actors are freely able to move to other shows or move their shows around. That's why they create a defensive position by making everybody sign these contracts, multiple year contracts, that you're going to be on this show for 7 years. You're going to be able, if we want to, you have to produce X amount of episodes for us for an extended period of time. So that's one way they could lock this in. Now, the firm has to be able to create value that customers see as valuable, that the company can make profits off of, and they must be able to maintain this position and defend it from competitors being able to take over. And that's going to be a key theme of, once you have that great idea, how do you keep people from stealing your ideas and taking your market from you? And there's been a long history of people coming up with a great product only for somebody else to come in and do it better and steal their thunder. Now, number 3, if you do have a valuable position, the firm should be able to leverage that into as many markets as possible, the entire world, because where you don't move to and cement your ideas and start selling, competing, someone else will. So it's in today's such a global world that this has to be done in a very global thinking. Number four. Okay, so the goal strategy, of course, we talked about this before, maximize profit um, through time, long term, not just by growing in size, because sometimes growing in size is not helpful. It's not getting us to where we're going. We shouldn't just think, you know, grow, grow, grow. We should grow where it's smart. We should grow into new markets, new activities where there are synergies, where it makes sense, where we can take our existing core competencies, leverage them, create synergies, create valuable positions. You know, for example, should McDonald's go into the movie making business? Should McDonald's go into the clothing business to help them grow in size, increase their sales? No, because they don't have competencies, core competencies in this area. They should stay with what they know. And actually, for a while there, McDonald's was they were investing in other restaurants. A pizza restaurant, they had investments in Boston Market, investments in Chipotle Mexican Grill, and at one day they said, listen, this is great, but McDonald's restaurants and franchises are really where our competence is and where we make our money. Let's sell these other distractions and focus on making McDonald's the best we can. And when they decided this, they redid the menu. They installed, redid as many store interiors, opened 24 hours. They turned the company around tremendously long term, and they tripled the price of their stock when they decided to focus on McDonald's core brand and not looking for Subway store, not Subway sandwich shops, but franchises that sell Subway Heroes or sandwiches or hoagies, franchises that sell pizza or chicken, you know, or Mexican food. They reversed course on that and they found out what was really beneficial for them. Okay, number five. Firms should be diligent to understand and document the source of their advantages. So companies can't be lazy. If they have an advantage or competitive advantage, something that they do better than other companies, they need to treasure that as much as possible. You know, they need to extend it, take advantage of it, and documenting it is one way to keep better control of it, have a better understanding of what to do with it, how to maintain it. And so many firms don't do this. They have a lot of potential. You know, if you look at Xerox, they didn't understand what they had. I mean, basically, Microsoft and Apple have been going to Xerox research development and just, you know, out and out taking their best technologies and turning them into revolutionary products that change the world. You know, one good example is the mouse. The other good example is the GUI interface, both invented by Xerox. But they didn't document what they had. They didn't know how to leverage it, utilize it. They lost out. Okay, number six. From the firm's point of view, the key question of industry analysis is, can the firm define a uniquely valuable role within the industry? So can you see where do you fit in into the industry? Now, what is going to be your specialty? What are you going to focus on that's going to set you apart? You know, in the food business, it may be I'm going to be an all-natural organic company, and that's going to set me apart. You know, in many different industries, you know, you got to decide where is your fit and where are you going to really make your mark, and then you go for it. And you can't get there unless you really think about it and analyze the industry and say, you know what, there's a real need um, for a product to fit into this segment, this price range, this functionality. Okay, 7. Can the firm avoid destructive price competition? This is what kills a lot of companies. They come in, they have a great idea, they have a great product, they're doing well, and then competitors start to eat away at them, coming in, stealing their hard work. They develop a whole new market, they establish their products, and another competitor just swoops in and starts selling pretty much the same thing. And if the product isn't protected some way, if there's no way to really control what you're selling and your advantage, the competition will just eat you alive. Um, it's and sometimes in the industry, say like the airline industry, everybody just starts lowering prices to compete and nobody wins. So that destructive price competition where companies uh, are cutting prices to the detriment of the whole industry to the point where everyone goes bankrupt, that's something industries, firms need to avoid. Not collude, not price fix, but, you know, have a have a way of maintaining their price competition without it becoming destructive. We'll definitely talk more about that in this course. Never take competitors' positions as fixed or given. Competitors are constantly changing. It's such a global world out there, and everybody is working so hard day and night and just nipping at your toes, your heels to throw you off the throne, take your position, take your customers. It's just relentless. You can't stay still for a minute. Every penny counts, every decision, everything has to be perfect, or someone's going to take it away from you. You have to try and figure out where your competitors are going. What's their next move? What are they going to try and do next? How will they react to your firm and your decisions? If you look at Apple and Microsoft and computers, I don't think Microsoft really saw where Apple was going. And Apple was going into music and iPods and phones. And the effect of this is that Microsoft didn't seem that they were competing directly with Microsoft, but the fact that people started to really fall in love with these other Apple products made them think, you know what, I should get an Apple computer. I love the iPhone, I love my iPod. Why not get the Apple computer? So this competition um, and their demand for their computers increased greatly, which a lot of their competitors now, of course, Microsoft is not a hardware competitor, but HP and other competitors are feeling the pinch as Apple moves in. There's moving more units, you know, developing their own retail stores to foster their products and brand loyalty, and selling everything at a very high profit margin compared to their competitors. And that's why it doesn't cost that much more to make a Mac than a PC, but Apple charges a premium because they have more benefits in their product. People see that their products work better, that they're virus free, that they're, you know, um, perceive them as getting higher benefits out of the Apple products, and they're willing to pay more for them. In some cases, people are willing to pay $700 for a phone, for an iPhone, rather than pay, get a phone for under $100, and that's if you buy it unlocked off contract, of course. Okay. Number 9, situations of high risk. Evaluate in situations for high risk, you have to evaluate your strategies. Um, how are they going to be able, your current strategies, are they going to create or destroy future wealth? If you make decisions now, are you shooting yourself in the foot, so to speak? You have to think long term. You don't want to destroy your market base, your customer loyalty, your brand loyalty on cheap gimmicks or short-term thinking, or you don't want to, especially with food. I've noticed quite a bit that some companies may deteriorate the quality of their food so they can be more profitable. But in the long term, they're going to have less customers. They're going to be less profitable. That's only going to work in the short term. And a lot of managers and a lot of people in the industry want to do things short term for that instant profit for that quarter, so they get rewarded. But the companies need leaders and managers who think long term, that really have a vision. We're talking about Steve Jobs. He definitely was a long term type of guy. He wasn't doing things for this quarter and next quarter. Same thing with um, Jeff. I don't know his name offhand. The guy who started and runs Amazon. He had a long-term view for what Amazon was. I remember in 2001 him talking on CNBC saying, listen, don't buy my stock if you think you're going to make money this year, next year, this month. This is a long-term stock. If you buy it now, you'll do well in the long term, but not in the short term. We're not thinking short term in this company. And that always stuck with me. That's a good point. And it's paid off. Amazon has done fabulously well over the last 10 years. Stock is a tremendous hit because of his long-term thinking. Okay, number 10, when building market share, it's strategically important for future profits. So what do I mean when I say this? If you're going to go for additional market share, make sure you do it in a way that's going to enhance your future profits. Um, if you understand your market and you grow in a smart way, you can always enhance your profits. You don't want to go into areas or markets and take a loss, or you want to avoid those particular opportunities to grow where it's not going to be the most beneficial to the company. You need to have successful ideas and tactics of where you're growing your company. You're always companies, I can't stress this enough, companies have to maintain or increase their profit margins. Same thing if you're playing the Zoom simulation. Don't let your profit margins disintegrate. They have to be maintained or increased. That is what investors expect, and that's what you have to deliver, or your stock gets punished. No one likes it when profit margins go down. Companies are doing everything possible to maintain their profit margins. So if it means, and hopefully they're doing it by creating a smarter product, creating a product that consumers see as more valuable, more beneficial, but as far as the company, it's costing you less to make it, less to produce it. If you look at the Nintendo Wii, it costs a lot less to make a Wii than Xbox or 360. Nintendo created a product that would be more profitable, penetrate the market more deeply, and the idea was, let's make a game console that the whole family can use, that's fun, that is going to compete in a different way, that's going to be profitable for our company. And that's one of the reasons Nintendo was and is very successful. Now, okay, so that's the basics of chapter one, sort of a short chapter. Join me next time where I'll discuss chapter two, and chapter two is really benefits minus costs. How to position your firm against the competition, how to recognize that your products, how to enhance your products, enhance the benefits of your products so that consumers want to buy you over your competition. Okay, so that's next time. I'll have that lecture posted very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.